after one appointment for my leg with my leg guy in Nashville, he asked on my way out if I would talk to his next patient, which was being fit for a new leg, lost his leg to cancer. Would you mind just talking to him? You're on the other side of this. I was like, dude, I love that. I feel like this is why this happened to me. I don't get to have conversations like that enough. I would love to. He's like, okay, great. Get in there. Talked to the guy for 5 minutes, left that, and it just seeing the hope in his eyes. I remember I left that day just thanking God that I was able to have conversations like that and speak that kind of language to him. It's like a different language. It's different than saying, I can only imagine what you're going through. I sympathize with what you're going through. Saying, I know what you're going through, you know? And went home and told my wife, I wish that could be my job. Went back the next day, told Eric that same thing. And he was like, well, maybe it could be. Long story short, he introduced me to this awesome, dashing Southern gentleman who was his boss, who owned the company, who owned the prosthetic clinic, named Rob Pittman. Nashvilleian born and bred. He was about 3 years older than me, and had a very successful orthotics and prosthetics business. And I'd not met Rob because he was not my prosthetist directly. He was the CEO of that company. And a couple conversations with Rob, I learned that Rob had 4 years prior, because when people would come into his clinic and they didn't have health insurance or any way to pay for a prosthetic limb and they just needed to get back to work, but they weren't working because they were in this accident or had this terrible thing happen to them, and then they had no money and no way to pay for a prosthesis and they were stuck. He established a 501c3. That is the IRS status for an organization being tax exempt, aka nonprofit. Explain it like I'm 5. So
I appreciate that.
Yes. So Rob had established a 501c3 to do that thing, to give people prosthetic care that were uninsured and had no other way to pay for it.
And this is what year?
This is, I met him at the beginning of 2013.
Okay.
4 years prior, he'd established it.
Okay.
But it had been kind of sitting dormant. He'd had a couple names. He had a couple boards. Turns out the term nonprofit is a huge misnomer. It should be for-profit, only way harder. And then when you make money, it's actually donations and you are not directly benefiting from it, but someone else is.
That's the explain it like I'm 5 version.
And you got to jump through way more hoops than a normal for-profit business does.
Sure.
And you have all sorts of unrealistic expectations because people, again, ignorant. The term ignorant means they just don't understand. They're ignorant about how all that works. Oh, you get paid to do that for a living? I don't understand. Lots of misnomers when it comes to that. So Rob had established his 501c3, just didn't have anybody to run it. So I joked that day, Rob tossed me the keys to a car with no engine in it and said, let's see what we can do with that. So he offered me the role as you want to come on, try to build this thing with me and run it. You be the executive director, AKA CEO, synonymous, and see what we can do.
Can you just explain it like I'm 5?